Welcome back to the Psalm 40 Project. We continue our conversation with Reverend Kristy Manion.
Mary.
Did that kind of develop just like out of conversations you were having, or just like the thought process that was going on? Like what kind of made
was the trigger
those
for
people
that?
think that?
You know, I don't know exactly, except that I think that they saw, there's things I haven't even talked about. They saw in me a heart for other people and for Christ, I think, I hope. I have a sister who has special needs, and so that shapes you in your growing up years in ways that make you look for gifts and strengths and also needs in other people.
Okay.
So I think that environment was a part of it. Growing up with Mom in church work was a part of it. Loving the church was a part of it. I did not have in my life a model of female ordained clergy members.
Okay.
So that seminary was not on my radar.
Yeah,
it was not. I thought, okay, if I go to grad school, I'd love to teach English literature. Maybe that's what I'll do. Knocked on that door a little bit. I met with a woman who was getting her PhD at Notre Dame.
Oh, wow.
And she was living in Grand Rapids. She had been married for about 10 years at the time, and I was considering commuting to Notre Dame. Living in Grand Rapids, kind of getting my marriage established, but driving back and forth.
Oof.
And she said to me, in that, you know, there's lots of things I remember from that discernment conversation, but one of the things was, ooh, I would not advise in your young marriage being away from your spouse this much.
Yeah.
And I thought, one of my first calls here, I have a call on my life to belong to Jesus and to serve him wherever I go. I now have made this commitment. I have a call on my life to love and respect and serve alongside my husband and help him become who he's meant to be as he helps me become who I'm meant to be. I don't see this serving our new marriage after she said that. So then that really did kind of limit me, or in a good way, kind of narrowed in my focus to think about seminary. So I said, well, I'll dunk a toe in the water. I don't know.
Let's just try it out.
Let's just try it out. I'll continue to work. I will go take a couple classes. So I started with Greek and pastoral care.
Okay, at least you had something to go right alongside Greek.
Yes. And I think I called the seminary registrar at the time, who is a member here at LaGrave, and I think he thought, who is this? Just calling me up kind of from Calvin College sort of randomly, wanting to sign up for a Greek class.
And
so,
just real quick, how many years after your college graduation is this?
Oh, maybe one.
Okay.
So I took a couple of post-grad classes at Calvin just for fun in literary theory and different things.
Gotcha.
Just to see, am I really interested in this literature thing, or am I, and I still remain interested in books, but so maybe a year out, started a class at a time. Okay. And loved the Greek. I know that's weird.
No, it's
loved the pastoral care, which was with Ron Neidham, who some of the members of our church know. And
he was great.
Yeah, and I said to him, Ron, I really want to do an MA in counseling. I don't have a need to preach. I don't have a need to teach. I'm just kind of, I want to care about people, and I want to do that in an informed way. And at some point, as I was taking a class at a time as a non-degree seeking student, Ron said, you must go MDiv. You must enroll in this program and just see. So I really had a lot of people all along the way, because as you know, I was in seminary for the better part of a decade while I continued working at Calvin College and learning different things about my work there in different roles. Started having a couple of kids, did the school and work and baby thing kind of. There was a point in seminary where I did decide to become degree seeking, and that I would go in the MDiv program, and I was all the time kind of working on this. What does it mean that I feel called into this when I have not seen, I have to put the theology and the biblical studies part together about being female and doing this, because it was not for me at that time just to be taken at face value that women were called into pastoral ministry, or could be called biblically. So seminary really did help me with that. I had a wonderful mentor who was a woman probably about 10 years ahead of me in life. And she was figuring this out along the way. She had her theology figured out, but kind of figuring out how to do life as a mom and a wife and a pastor.
Navigate the really
navigating
difficult parts.
that, all of those different hats. And so she was instrumental. And I remember saying to her, Julie, if I declare MDiv, then I have to preach. I don't really know, like, no offense, I know you're a preacher. I don't really know how I feel about women preaching. I don't know if I think it's permissible biblically. And at that time she said, do you think that you can see it as a learning and discerning opportunity? That while you're a degree, in the course of your degree requirements, you would try this out. You would try it on and see. So that helped me to feel like I wasn't making this once and for all commitment, even though I was doing tons of reading background and trying to put the theology of this together. She gave me some space and some permission to experiment and say, you're in process, you're forming, and we're figuring this out. So, and then I did try preaching, and I found out that I loved it. And that was, God's other name is surprise, is one of the things that my former chaplain at Calvin College, Dale Cooper, will say. That has been the true voice of God in my life. When I am surprised, it's like, oh, I better pay attention, because God might be up to something here that is beyond me and that I didn't expect, when something catches me off guard.
So so at that point you sort of declared your MDiv status, and kind of you knew that was the direction to go from that point on. Okay. That's awesome.
I did. And that did not mean that I knew what would come after,
of course,
but it was this sense of, I'm going to go in this direction, and where God opens the doors, thanks to the movement of the Spirit and his people ahead, I will go. I will just keep walking as long as he keeps showing me the path ahead of my feet, a step at a time.
So what were you still feeding the pastoral care side of things, the caring of others at the same time, or did you kind of narrow in on just fulfilling the MDiv track at the seminary?
If the seminary had a concentration in pastoral care, I would have loved to do that. So I took as much pastoral care as I could in my time. When we were expecting our first child, Micah, who is now 10, I quit my job and went full-time to seminary for a year, because I thought, if I'm going to get this done before now is the time. I'm going to go full-time. And that year I did a CPE internship, extended unit. CPE is clinical pastoral education, and it's an intensive internship, but also high reflection with other pastors or people in seminary.
Is that sort of the spot where you decided you were going to take some chaplaincy credits as well and head down that road, or did that develop later on?
It developed later on, again, through my mistakes and God's faithfulness. So we can talk about that.
We'll get there.
So that internship, while I was expecting Micah, was 15 hours a week in the hospital with some overnights, and extended through the better part of a school year. And I really enjoyed it, although I didn't know. The part that was hard and good about it was that I never kind of knew when that pager went off in the night or during the day, that someone is calling for a chaplain, or there's someone who may die and they would like to have a chaplain present. You never know what's going to happen in that time. And so I feel like that was an opportunity to exercise the muscles of my expectation that wherever I would go, God would show up. So that pager would go off, and I would say, "Okay, Lord, what are we gonna do together? Where are we going? What's happening?" And God never let me down. It's every time where I would say, I will follow, and we will find what we find here, and I don't know, I will try to be the presence of Christ to the people that I meet.